Facebook has too much power. It's an unaccountable company. And thanks to Chuck Schumer and looking out for the interests of his daughter and campaign contributor, they will face even less scrutiny and accountability than the already meager ones that the Senate was attempting to begin with. And this is not just, of course, Facebook. Amazon is one of the world's most wealthy and powerful corporations. They're moving to Virginia and New York City with massive handouts from the government. Wal-Mart has made a fortune by underpaying workers with the help of state and local governments, busting unions and destroying local competition. And too much of the federal government continues to provide a baseline for these companies, both in terms of rewards, packages, and corporate contributions from our general money and welfare, as well as to buffer them while they ruthlessly exploit their workforces and pay them poverty wages. This is a really important piece that the Bernie Sanders people just put out on their Instagram page on how workers fare who work for Amazon.
A lot of people are very interested in homelessness, including me.
One of the people that trained me when I came in, he's homeless.
I know people who live in their car. Who sleep outside the center. They sleep in their car. That to me is heartbreaking. After taxes, you take home $280 a week. $280 a week in Phoenix, Arizona is not enough money to survive on.
I'm going to identify and vet and fund family homeless shelters.
One person in particular, I know, she worked hard. She worked extra hours wherever she could. She was living in her car, literally sleeping in her car.
I'm very proud of the wages that we pay.
He's making more in a minute than I'm probably going to make in my entire lifetime. There's no accountability for Jeff Bezos. He has the money and he sets the rules and he can do whatever he wants.
Amazon, of course, has received massive giveaways from New York and Virginia to locate in both outside the D.C. metropolitan area and in Long Island City in Queens to expand this global empire that ruthlessly underpays and abuses its workers. Walmart has survived because of a lax regulatory environment, ruthless union busting, a global supply chain which is detrimental to the environment, relies on global sweatshop labor, and also, just like Amazon, a workforce that is ruthlessly underpaid and abused by them and cushioned by meager government benefits, things like food stamps and housing and other programs for an impoverished workforce. Now, Facebook also, in corporate wrongdoing and government looking the other way, has been revealed to be playing both sides of sort of public misuses of anti-Semitism. It has lied and covered up its extensive vulnerability to fake news and propaganda. It's looked the other way on hate speech. It's aided and abetted the far right, and of course, beginning with Donald Trump. And it, too, through campaign contributions and political relationships with both parties, has shielded itself from scrutiny. These three companies exemplify the abuses of the modern economy. Two bougie tech firms which rely on a stalker economy that chronicles every movement, idea, purchase, and sort of every micro suggestion in a stalker economy with absolutely no accountability or consumer protection. And Walmart exists on the low end. Walmart, of course, employs a massive global workforce, almost all of whom are grossly underpaid, savagely abused, and its prices and practices undercut local businesses and have turned many communities into broad races to the bottom. Of course, its slightly better branded alternatives like Target practice the same methodologies. And Bernie Sanders is absolutely right to make this personal. The abuses of an obscene CEO like Jeff Bezos, the abuses of a pseudo-woke sociopath like Sheryl Sandberg can be used as case studies to not only reveal the sort of parasitic and immoral nature of our current capitalist elites, but also as case studies that open into structural realities that go far beyond any individual personality. These happen to be the people that right now are rewarded through education, luck, and timing, and have matched perfectly with their current stage of late phase capitalism, of relentless second by nanosecond trading, demands on labor, and ever sort of ruthless pushes outs to the extremes of what human beings and the planet are capable of absorbing in this mad rush of capital accumulation. Bernie Sanders' strategy of naming and shaming CEOs has been a welcome development when his Democratic colleagues are busy appeasing these very same interests. From Disney to Amazon and now to Wal-Mart, Bernie Sanders has organized people across the country against the excesses of these corporations. It's been a successful strategy in gaining short-term victories over these companies who thrive when their abuses are hidden, and so many are hard to locate in order to do something about them. By concentrating attention on specific injustices by these companies and specifically naming CEOs and people responsible for these abuses, Bernie has not only brought these injustices to light, but has empowered and amplified the voices of working people to stop them. This is the kind of agitation that we need in mobilizing and synchronizing a class war. And believe me, we are a class war. We have been on the receiving end of a ruthless class war from the capital holders in this country. And no matter what might morons and propagandists and Koch-funded idiots who might tell you about competition kicking in or the magical religious powers of the marketplace, make no mistake about what is really happening in the form of massive inequality, decreased wages, diminished opportunities, and an environment that is being eaten to the core. We need to name and shame as a pathway to a structural critique, which serves as another pathway to a global class war from the bottom up so we can save, broaden, and reclaim democracy.
Competition would start kicking in.
I was waiting for it. That fucking Dunsky. All right, guys.
Did you happen to catch him saying that the government had nothing to do with Amazon moving to New York and Crystal City?
You know, the thing about it, when Dave Rubin says something like that, I kind of believe him. Because he's a stupid guy.
Wait, what do you mean you believe him? That he
might literally not know about anything inside the agreements between the states and Amazon.
Oh no, totally. Yeah, I don't think he's being disingenuous.
He's not being disingenuous. He's just being
ingenuous.
A fucking moron. Yeah,
or uningenuous, I guess.
He's incapable of
ungenuous.
Yes. Okay, here is Dave Rubin, the man at the perfect meeting point of cynicism and stupidity. Can anybody? I was on the Sit Down with Mike Racine, which is a great show last weekend. People should check it out. He's going to be on here in a couple weeks. He actually does a decent Dave Rubin impression. So I'm looking forward to that. But he goes, good Lord, this thread, Amazon's bringing in new jobs. We live in a free society. The company can do what it wants. People can decide to shop there. The government has nothing to do with all of this. They'll drop the democratic and go right to socialist soon enough. He's quote tweeting out.
I mean, where to start with that? What is fucking democratic about this whole shit?
Yeah, you mean like the non-voted upon allocation of over $1 billion of public resources to a private company without any oversight? You mean that part of the democratic process? What the fuck are you talking about?
It's almost uncomputationally dumb. Like you can't really even
if we ever did a show on Dave Rubin, it would be called Almost Incomputationally Dumb.
It's like dumb to the fourth power.
I mean, we've got Ron Kim, who's an assemblyman in New York. Everybody needs to be out to focus on fighting for this bill. We might even have him on the show. And he's saying we need to immediately pass a bill through the legislature to end the over $1 billion giveaway to Amazon and immediately replace that with completely relieving over 1 million New Yorkers of their student loans, which is both the right thing to do and, if you want to measure it economically, would pay an infinitely bigger economic dividend. And so insofar as any part of this has been democratic, it's the bill to protect New Yorkers from this incredible screw-over scam bill, scam idea that Cuomo and de Blasio have cooked up. I mean, all right, this is Zellner Minor.
Myrie.
Zellner Myrie, excuse me. I find it difficult. He was a state senator from Brooklyn. I find it difficult to reconcile outrage at Trump's tax cuts for the rich and praise hashtag HQ2. The same fallacious argument undergirds both, that public money will drive the rich to invest in the rest of us. Hasn't happened before, and it won't happen again. We will hashtag fight. Absolutely.
It's my representative.
Yeah. Indeed. We've got a good rep now.
What I like about him is that he didn't... I actually didn't know a whole lot of him besides he wasn't the IDC guy he was challenging, so I just voted for him.
You needed to get rid of the IDC guy. That's all we knew.
And it turns out, like, if this is what I get from that, like those types of Democrats these days in Brooklyn, like, I'm happy to...
Right. Now all of a sudden we've got a good guy in there.
Let's also not forget, just going back to David Rubin for a second, that the land that Amazon is going to build their headquarters on in New York City was slotted to be public housing.
Right.
So the government actually has a lot to do with it when you're talking about building a new headquarters.
What's public housing? That's socialism.
And now it's just public housing, a ravenous corporation.
Yeah. Competition would start kicking in. Of course, New York has, there's videos that come out every couple of weeks of people having massive rats running through their kitchens in New York City public housing. Like a grotesque humanitarian crisis that this great liberal administration hasn't achieved anything on. And they come through with this Amazon deal, which Bill de Blasio says having this massive corporation next to a huge public housing complex is synergy.
Yeah,
I'm sure we can all guess which Democrat president was good on rodent control.
Which would that be?
Go.
You should
LBJ.
Know. LBJ. LBJ like was very indignant because people kept making fun of him, but he's like, yeah, people. This is actually a real problem that a lot of people deal with in their homes. Is like they wake up and like literally their children are getting bit by rats.
LBJ, I mean, there's always the asterisk of genocide in Vietnam.
Yes, yeah.
And supporting coup in the Dominican Republic and so on. But, no, I mean, he did great things domestically. And he also got it on some level. I mean, his own background, he also taught in dirt poor, predominantly Mexican students. And it affected him. I mean, I don't think it was all bullshit. I think he was pretty genuine about that.
You know who else had a very successful vermin program? Was Mao Zedong in China. And I'm very serious, actually. They gave out a public...
Sir, I'm very serious about Mao Zedong.
I don't know the year, but they gave out a public decree that rats are enemies of the people, and they gave like special incentives to folks for killing rats. And like within like 2 years, like hundreds of thousands of rats were killed across China, and like the vermin infestation was very much taken over.
And it's something, not the same thing, but some type of that type of ingenuity and can-do-itness we need to take to the fight against this Amazon deal. I mean, it's just pathetic, man. It's just pathetic. And we're going to do, I mean, I'll give you people a hint. We're going to do a cold open in the post game for patrons. We're going to revisit our buddies at Pod Save America. But most people know that from the Facebook profile that the Republican Oppo research firm that Facebook hired that double dipped, overall Facebook double dipped. On one hand, they wanted to accuse people protesting them of anti-Semitism. And then on the other hand, they used this Republican firm to try to suggest that all criticism of them was funded by George Soros, which is the stuff they funneled to the right-wing blogs. And this guy, Tim Miller, who's one of these like Republican cucks who doesn't like, Trump because he's rude, is on Pod Save America.
And because he's young and he wants a future earning
he wants
potential.
A future. Right. And he's and the Pod Save America guys are like, oh yeah, it's totally good enough. Like you fucking, Tim Miller, like we disagree on like taxation, but I think like he likes the West Wing. So it's great to have you on. Wait, dude, fuck, did you do that? All right, let's get to the shout out. Okay, what is this?
It's just another detail. More offers, details of the offers that were given to Amazon have been leaking out.
Is this up on screen?
Yeah, it says the original tweet is Greg Bluestein. What Georgia offered to Amazon, a state-funded academy. Actually, Griscom, I can't see with the things in the wiki.
So Georgia didn't just offer Amazon $2 billion. We offered to segregate our educational and transit systems between Amazon and non-Amazon. How is this okay? But also, of course, corporate personhood will lead to corporate segregation of formerly public goods. What a perk to offer. But yeah, they offered them private train cars. They also offered them free parking at Atlanta Airport, which is one of the busiest airports in the world.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, and a dedicated car on their public transit service.
Oh, I guess that's like that was literally an Onion joke about New York. They actually offered that in Georgia.
No, I mean some of these attempts by other cities to get Amazon are, I mean, it's absolutely pathetic what New York City gave.
I want to see candidates running against the public officials who were, bending over backwards for Amazon in all cities across the country. For this. Hit them.
Hit them hard. The amount of good you could do with this money. And I don't want to ever hear another word. I mean, of course you will. But you know what? I'm not even going to say that. These people are dishonest and disingenuous. They'll say that there isn't enough money and all this bullshit. But anytime you hear a politician say there isn't enough money for universal student debt relief, for Medicare for all, for anything, for having a giant fucking public sponsored Coachella that's free of charge, okay? I don't give a fuck. And there isn't enough money for it. Remind them of this shit. There's enough money that even, I mean, in a rejected offer, the state of Georgia offers Amazon $2 billion. Get the fuck out of here. You just enjoyed that Michael Brooks Show video, and you can get a lot more by subscribing to us here at the Michael Brooks Show YouTube channel. It's literally right there.